The 2024 election is heating up, and the race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is getting even more fierce. The mass media is now even looking at how both candidates are appearing on TV stations, assuming that this is the only remaining way to sway voters and build momentum. But as with any election, the strategies of different candidates can vary wildly. Some media outlets see Trump's avoidance of TV stations as a sign that he's losing ground, and Harris's steady appearance on TV as a sign that she's gaining more popularity. But is that the case? Or is it just another way of manipulating information? Well, stay tuned to find out. Now, as you may have already heard or seen, because CNN and CBS News can't let a moment that makes Donald Trump look bad or weak pass, former President Donald Trump has decided not to engage in additional debates with Vice President Kamala Harris. Fox News invited both candidates to a debate on October 24th or 27th in Pennsylvania, hoping that this would present an opportunity for each candidate to make his or her closing arguments. However, Trump reiterated his position on Truth Social, stressing that debates cannot have any meaningful impact at this point in the political cycle. These kinds of debates usually take place in September and early October, so Trump has stuck to his strategy of reaching out to voters directly through rallies and other campaign activities, which has attracted a lot of interest and excitement from his followers. On the other hand, Kamala Harris has been pouncing on every interview she can get, ranting about social issues and things only she understands. And to no one's surprise, Kamala Harris's media campaign has not taken off as much as many had anticipated. Her effort to draw attention to the accomplishments of the present government and her several appearances on major networks have not helped her candidacy gain traction with the general population. The problem is that Harris is running far too much of an old media campaign, spending hours upon hours appearing on what's left of the traditional mainstream outlets for staged and unremarkable interviews that, to put it kindly, have not managed to excite the base or build the kind of passion necessary for a successful run among Democratic primary voters. She's made an effort to use these venues to highlight her programs and set herself apart from Donald Trump, but the results have not been impressive, especially in light of Trump's audacious and charismatic campaign. At a time when people are seeking more authentic and unscripted leaders, Harris's polished and controlled style has occasionally seemed antiquated. She addresses significant topics like immigration, the economy, and foreign crises, but her message delivery has not resulted in the type of fervent support required to develop a sizable voting base. Although significant, her emphasis on in-depth policy talks hasn't always resonated with people on an emotional level, which is a critical component of effective political campaigns. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has used a far bolder and more direct campaign tactic. Rather than depending on prearranged interviews or managed media appearances, Trump interacts with his followers in a way that is genuine and spontaneous. His rallies are large-scale, intense gatherings that provide him a platform to not only spread his message, but also foster a sense of camaraderie and devotion among his followers. The intensity and enthusiasm at these gatherings contrast greatly with Harris's more reserved and controlled media appearances. Trump's approach of avoiding established media channels and delivering his message directly to the public has given him a direct edge over Kamala Harris. While Harris mostly uses network interviews and traditional media to spread her message, Trump has maintained continual communication with his fans by using social media, public rallies, and direct messaging. With this strategy, Trump is able to engage with voters in a manner that Harris is unable to, making him more in tune with his supporters and less dependent on the media establishment. Despite being slick and professional, Harris's media approach lacks the grassroots appeal that Trump's campaign depends on. Her inability to engage those who are not already involved in politics can be attributed to her dependence on major media outlets. Trump, on the other hand, has reached out to those who might be turned off by conventional politics by using his audacious and unorthodox strategy. His capacity to energize his followers, often by addressing them personally and avoiding the media, has allowed him to maintain his relevance and position of dominance in the political sphere. Ultimately, Trump's audacious, honest, and intensely personal campaign has outlasted Harris's dependence on public appearances and well-crafted rhetoric. The fact that Trump can command attention, motivate his following, and stick in the minds of voters exposes a crucial flaw in Harris's approach. As the election gets near, it's becoming more and more evident that, despite the media establishment's backing, Harris is finding it difficult to engage the public at the same level as Trump. There is a good chance that Trump will win handily, particularly if he can mobilize his supporters in swing areas and make inroads elsewhere. His ability to keep up the campaign's momentum and appeal to regular Americans' concerns will be crucial to his success. Trump's platform of law and order, economic recovery, and prioritizing America appeals to a large number of people who are dissatisfied with the way the nation is being led by the president and his deputy. Gaining traction and converting this annoyance into votes would increase the likelihood of a resounding win. Recent surveys showing Donald Trump doing well have become increasingly common as the 2024 election draws near. Trump has maintained his advantage in several polls, especially in crucial swing states that will probably determine the election's outcome. There's a spike in support for Trump in swing states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, which have historically been crucial in deciding presidential elections. He's leading his rival in voter support and desire to vote, according to polling data, indicating a significant advantage as the campaign gets closer. Even while voter turnout and excitement have fluctuated throughout the campaign, Trump's followers have remained fiercely dedicated and inspired. People of all ages, but particularly younger ones who are dissatisfied with the current state of politics, share this passion. It's not just the reserve of more experienced older voters. Trump's promise to bolster national security, reestablish America's authority, and restore economic prosperity are positively received by supporters who feel left behind by the current policies. This emotional connection to his message is encouraging voters to cast ballots in large numbers, which is contributing to his rising popularity. There's also been a substantial increase in GOP registrations in states where elections are frequently decided by small margins, such as Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan. In these same locations, however, the Democratic Party has experienced slower development or even a collapse. With his base mobilized, more Republicans registering to vote, and greater exposure, he is in a strong position as the election draws closer. While polls are just one metric of success, they provide a clear picture of the momentum that is currently in Trump's favor. If this trend continues, it could very well translate into a decisive victory for Trump in the 2024 election, particularly in the key swing states that will determine the final outcome. Following his assassination attempt, Donald Trump's return to Butler, Pennsylvania was a pivotal point in his 2024 presidential campaign. It was more than simply a routine campaign trip. The visit was a noteworthy manifestation of his tenacity, resolve, and unshakable dedication to his fans. For Trump, this was not just about politics. It was also about finishing a symbolic and personal chapter that had been unfinished since his assassination attempt. The country and his followers were shaken by the July 20th, 2024 assassination attempt that took place during the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. Trump was adamant on going back to the same location to complete the circle, a word he used to express his desire to finish what he'd started, despite the dangerous encounter. His comeback made it quite evident that he was still devoted to serving as the nation's leader and that fear would not control his behavior. Trump's strong links to the region were further reinforced by the warm reception he received from the crowd upon his return to Butler. This part of Pennsylvania has always been a stronghold for Trump, and his ability to bring people together following a horrifying event only served to deepen those relationships. Trump strengthened his reputation as a fighter, someone who would not be intimidated or frightened by returning. Trump acknowledged the attempted assassination in his speech, but he chose to concentrate on the bigger picture of his campaign rather than linger on it. He made a point of outlining his goals for the United States and his intention to complete the work he began as president. His supporters did not overlook the symbolic significance of going back to the very place where his life had been in jeopardy. For them, Trump's comeback was a show of power and allegiance more than merely a political event. Furthermore, Trump was able to rekindle his base's enthusiasm by demonstrating that he's still as tough and unwavering as ever. Given the political climate, many candidates could have refrained from returning to a location associated with such a dangerous encounter, but Trump's choice to do so highlighted his distinct style of governance. He's a leader who never backs down, no matter how high the stakes. Following a spate of catastrophic storms that decimated numerous states in the U.S. recently, communities desperately needed prompt and efficient government disaster aid. The Biden administration has received a lot of flack for how it handled these tragedies, with Vice President Kamala Harris spearheading the mismanagement. An organized, quick attempt to provide millions of people with help became a bureaucratic jumble, making many Americans feel as though their government had abandoned them. The purpose of the federal government is to step in and help those who most need it during times like this. But under Kamala Harris's leadership, the response was slow, ineffectual, and fragmented. Stories of misunderstanding, delayed assistance, and insufficient supplies grew, infuriating the public. Many are wondering why their government seems more concerned in overseas wars and unrealistic political projects than in helping them reconstruct their lives after losing everything to the storms. Trump didn't take long to draw attention to these shortcomings. He pointed out the administration's inability to prioritize disaster relief over its spending on other agendas. With billions of dollars flowing into foreign wars and controversial domestic policies, the Biden administration seemed to have no problem allocating vast resources to areas that many Americans view as far less critical than the immediate needs of hurricane victims. As Trump pointed out in his speeches, while homes were being destroyed and families displaced, the administration was busy pouring money into endless military engagements overseas, leaving little for disaster-stricken Americans. The Biden administration's focus on international conflicts infuriated the people even more. particularly in regions where the US has been involved in protracted wars without a clear win. These military operations, which are often a waste of taxpayer dollars, contrasted sharply with the amount of money being taken from helping American citizens recover from the storm. Trump's words were quite clear. Why are we wasting billions on pointless wars if we can't even offer the most basic assistance to people in Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina? There have been reports of emergency supplies being misdirected or delayed, leaving many villages to fend for themselves during the crucial days immediately following the storms. Sometimes even FEMA's response teams have arrived without the necessary equipment, and in other cases, they never arrived at all. This led to uncertainty, anger, and even protests in some of the most affected towns. As families awaited help that never arrived, they began to question the administration's intentions. After this neglect, many now want Trump's leadership. Trump emphasized that disaster assistance will be a primary priority under his leadership. He pledged to put Americans first, in contrast to the present government, which looked more focused on advancing ideological goals and battering favor with foreign friends. As the only contender who genuinely understands the demands of the American people, Trump's prior accomplishments of reducing red tape and completing tasks swiftly make him a man for the people. Voters are fed up with seeing their taxes go to waste on pointless wars and political pet projects, while their own communities are allowed to fall apart. Donald Trump's main platform in the 2024 presidential campaign has been his track record of managing the economy. And according to current surveys, he leads Kamala Harris by 9 points on this important front. Economic development and stability are major worries for a lot of Americans, particularly in the wake of years of inflation and unstable employment markets. Voters trust Trump when it comes to managing the economy because they remember the success of his previous administration and believe that he can bring about a similar period of prosperity if given another term in office. The country as a whole is experiencing severe economic hardship, which is reflected in Trump's 9-point advantage on economic concerns. Many Americans are feeling the pressure of an economy that appears to be heading in the wrong way, and they are finding it difficult to keep up with the growing expenses of housing, groceries, and gas. Savings have been reduced by inflation, and salaries haven't kept up with living expenses. The prospect of economic revival is a lifeline rather than just a talking point for some people. Trump's message is clear. He can solve the problems the present government has been unable to. For many people, the economic anguish is personal and genuine. Retirees' funds are declining, families are cutting back on necessities, and companies are struggling with rising expenses. Many all around the nation are unsure about when the economy will recover. The situation is bleak at best under Harris's leadership, and many people believe that her initiatives have not adequately addressed their concerns. Giving her another chance is positioning America for failure. Trump's track record is one of the reasons he's been able to keep such a commanding advantage on economic matters. The economy expanded significantly under his administration, the unemployment rate fell to all-time lows, and incomes increased for a large number of American workers. For many voters, they are tangible proof of Trump's capacity to achieve outcomes rather than fading recollections. Even many who disagree with him on other matters acknowledge that Trump has demonstrated his ability to make progress in the economy. Harris, on the other hand, has had trouble gaining support for her economic principles. Many believe, no, scratch that, many now know she doesn't really have a well-defined plan to deal with growing living expenses, inflation, and job creation. The present administration has attempted to stimulate the economy through various initiatives, such as stimulus packages, but the outcomes have been, at best, mediocre. Though vital to some, many Americans believe that the government's emphasis on social justice and climate change has obscured the need for strong economic leadership. Key polls reflect the sentiment. For Republicans, the economy remains the top issue by far. But it's not just Republicans who are concerned. Independents and even some Democrats are feeling the pressure of a weak economy, and many of them are looking to Trump for solutions. In these polls, Trump consistently ranks higher than Harris on economic issues, with voters citing his experience and business background as reasons for their trust. The numbers are telling. 54% of voters believe Trump is better suited to handle the economy, compared to just 45% for Harris. When voters are questioned about particular problems like inflation and job development, the margin grows even wider. Most people have not been won over by her emphasis on progressive economic ideas, such as raising the minimum wage and expanding government expenditure. Trump's economic plan prioritizes the demands of American workers, which is why he must win, as Elon Musk directly puts it. So what are your thoughts on Trump's strategy for the 2024 election? Do you think he has what it takes to secure a victory? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more updates and insights on the election. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.